Dude, I really don't want to do this on camera. All the comments are going to be about how they see my nips poking through my shirt. They look fine now, but in a few moments they're going to start looking like those metal switches on airplane consoles. Do you at least have some scotch tape I could borrow? What? Hi everybody and welcome to the Hummeldon Direct 2020. We are so excited to have you here. Now before we begin with our presentation, I want to ask you a quick question. What do these two things have in common? The 2007 horror FPS masterpiece Bioshock, and amusement park rides similar to those seen at Disney World or Universal Studios? Well, that's right, not much. But here at Hummeldon, we don't see that as a disappointment. A fucking disappointment that we should be ashamed of? No. No, we see that as a chance. An opportunity to create something great for you. Now if you stick around for this video, you will see a presentation on Bioshock, Ride to Rapture. I hope you're excited. How long do I have to look at this thing? There are few things in my life that evoke such a strong feeling of nostalgia as amusement park rides. You've got record-breaking roller coasters like the Top Thrill Dragster that somehow convinced people that waiting 3 hours for a 17-second ride was just the best idea, to creative water slides, to all those damn spinning rides at local fairs. Amusement park rides provide such a unique form of joy, and I've always loved them. Always. But the rides that gave me so many more memories as a kid were definitely the theme park rides. Part of the charm for all of these rides was getting to jump into a world of the movies that you'd watch over and over as a kid and seeing all those nods and attention to detail. One of the best ideas these rides have compared to other places like Cedar Points was how they cleverly designed their lines so that they immediately brought you into the world before you even hop on the ride. I remember in particular really loving the line for the Men in Black ride at Universal Studios because you walked through all the halls of the MIB headquarters full of different weapons and nods to the franchise, and that was so cool to me as a kid. Now to switch gears real quick, I want to talk about Bioshock because that's the main idea for this video. I was actually a little late to playing Bioshock for the first time. I had heard the game was a masterpiece for several years, and I even had it in my Steam library for quite some time before I actually took the chance in 2013 to give the game a shot. Instantly, I was captivated by the intro. The way it introduces this beautiful city under the sea, and then quickly rips that beauty away, elegantly demonstrates the exact vibe the game is attempting to show. The world building is so well done and fleshed out, it actually has me thinking about how cool it would be to actually visit Rapture, albeit in a scenario where people aren't trying to disembowel you. And what better way to do that than to craft a perfect amusement park ride to bring you into that world? So, would you kindly buckle in as I take you through my concept from start to finish? Oh, and before I begin, most if not all of the ideas I have for this ride are just straight up impossible, or at least very impractical. I want to get that out of the way now so I don't have to say it constantly. This video is just to craft my ideal Bioshock ride, and I will not be cutting corners if I can avoid it. So one of the first things that we need to consider, and arguably it's the most important part, is actually the start. And I'm not talking of the ride, but I'm talking of the line. The lead up to any good theme park ride serves to get the rider in the right mindset so that they are ready to go when they actually get on the ride. Going back to the Men in Black ride, we will want to do something like that. So we'll take a few memorable areas of Rapture, and as our riders weave through the line, they will visit each of these locations. We'll have 1960s music playing over the speakers, interrupting that every so often to play some world-building audio diaries that are relevant to the area we are in. For example, the Arcadia section of the line will be full of lush foliage and small waterfalls, and diaries from Julie Langford will occasionally pipe in with her talking about different studies she's working on. Neptune's Bounty will take you under a fishing deck that's been taken over by rogue splicers, and above you'll hear a scanning turret and see and hear the footsteps of a couple splicers through the spaces between the wood. You'll pass through the medical pavilion where you'll see Dr. Steinman working on some poor patients as he drowns out the background music with his yelling. And of course, part of the line will have to take you through Sandra Cohen's Fort Frolic, one of the most impactful moments of the game. Each of these zones would serve to immerse the soon-to-be rider into the world of Rapture, and further flesh out some of the environments they might have been familiar with if they've played the game before. At the same time, these areas would also function to give context to those unfamiliar with the franchise. Basically, this line almost serves as like a museum of Bioshock before the ride even begins. Now the ride itself would start pretty similar to the game. You'd hop into the cart with approximately 6 to 8 people, ideally with good friends for reasons I'll explain later. Right as you exit the main boarding station, the ride has a small drop right at the start that plants you right into the Atlantic Ocean scene. Clever usage of lighting makes it look like the water extends forever, with the only beacon being the famous lighthouse from the game. As the cart takes you across the ocean and eventually into the lighthouse, flames will creep up enough just for the riders to feel the heat as they see a model of the plane sink below the water. Once inside, the riders are taken down the stairs and into the bathysphere. The next portion of the ride functions to emulate the experience the intro provides, so it'll follow it as closely as it can possibly do so. As the ride simulates a descent into the ocean, Andrew Ryan's presentation spiel will pop up in front of riders to distract them as the ride moves to the next scene. Once finished, the window will reveal the city of Rapture. We'll take notes from rides like the Tower of Terror for this section to create the illusion of a real city. If you haven't been on the Tower of Terror, there's this awesome section where the elevator opens up and you see a large room that seems to extend much further than it should, and this is achieved through forced perspective. Since riders are locked in place and they only have a small window to look into the city, we will take advantage of this and use forced perspective to make the city appear much larger than it really is. The ride would then descend into the main attraction section of the ride, and as that happens, the scene where the splicer attacks the bathysphere takes place just like it does in the game. They'll jump on top of the bathysphere and attempt to get in, causing the ride to shake as sparks fly around and you hear the sound of tearing metal as the splicer is trying to tear into the ride. Now here is the really cool part that I'm super excited about. Once the splicer eventually gives up and takes off, the harnesses the riders are strapped into are released and the bathysphere opens up so that riders can exit into what I'm calling the haunted house portion of the ride. Now this section is basically a guided walkthrough of Rapture. There would be an actor staff member that's presented as one of the riders, and they will take charge of communication with Atlas, who starts speaking to the riders over a radio that is in the bathysphere. Each rider will have props that serve as different weapons for this section, and a vest that serves to track the number of health they have left. Now throughout the haunted house, splicers, turrets, and traps will threaten the team, and it will be up to the group to stay alive until they reach the bathysphere that will take them back out of Rapture. If somebody at any point runs out of health, their weapons will no longer work and they will have to follow the group as a ghost until the group reaches a Vita chamber, which is able to be used to revive any of the dead members. The staff member will guide players through the first half of the adventure, which will help to ease riders into the mechanics to help them survive. After the tutorial section is over, the staff member will take the lead into a room, which they will then be captured and presumably slaughtered by splicers. They also leave behind the radio, which will be used in the second half of the adventure. The second half of the ride serves as a combination of haunted house and escape room as the group takes orders from Atlas as he guides them to the necessary items that they need to get back home. The team will need to work together to find a key to the bathysphere and survive any threats that might arise. Players will experience ambushes from enemies that will require them to fight back. They will enter rooms full of turrets and cameras that they will need to avoid or deactivate to navigate safely. Access to some rooms will provide items that could provide extra health or damage to players that will need to be used carefully to ensure survival. Some items, required or optional, may be locked behind safes that can be opened by finding a code through riddles or audio diaries found in the area. If at any point all of the players are dead at the same time, or if they exceed the time limit for the ride, the staff member that was previously with them will return with the key to the bathysphere and will take them to it. However, the bathysphere will take them to an alternative exit where it's revealed that the staff member was in cahoots with Atlas and that all of the team is being enslaved, thus getting the bad ending of the ride. If the team makes it through Rapture alive and with the key to the bathysphere, they will attempt to leave, but before the bathysphere takes off, the staff member shows up back outside of the bathysphere to reveal it was all a ploy and that he works for Atlas, and the bathysphere's coordinates is actually set to go to Atlas's headquarters. However, over the bathysphere radio, Dr. Tenenbaum chimes in. Over the radio, she'll say that she's sending help and that she is working on rerouting the bathysphere coordinates to take the riders home. After this, the familiar roar of a Big Daddy shakes the ride as the staff member begins to panic. As he pleads for you to open up the bathysphere, the Big Daddy bursts into the room and sets his sights on the staff member. Tenenbaum exclaims over the radio that the reroute was successful and the bathysphere takes off to the surface, thus getting the good ending of the ride. Both endings will have a score screen at the end that shows how many times each player got a kill, how much time was spent, and how many times they might have died. The team will get a final score based on these stats, and they'll be able to see how they matched up in the leaderboard. If you were really fast but you had people die a lot, your score is going to be lower than if you took a little bit more time and made sure that nobody died in the process. So it really creates a good amount of balance between doing things quickly and doing things right. And it'll be a really nice challenge to see how writers figure that out over the course of doing it once or twice or several times.
Somewhere waiting for me, my lover stands on golden sands and watches the ships.
Wow, what an amazing presentation. Now at the end of the video, you might have seen that the launch date for this ride is still to be determined. Now this is because we're looking for just the right amusement park to step up to the challenge to make Bioshock Ride to Rapture. Now if you are a park that is interested in stepping up, we just ask you two things. One, that all members of Hummeldon have an all-access pass to the ride, and two, that you name one of the buildings after us in Rapture. And that should be it. Thank you all for watching and have a wonderful day. If you got this far into the video, I really do not know what to say. I don't have a lot of videos on my channel, and I'm not exactly sure I have a niche just yet, but I really feel like this video is definitely outside of any niche I did fit. Anyway, I've wanted this ride for quite a while, and I've wanted to just spill out my ideas to people on the internet. If you have any other ideas that could be implemented into this ride, hey, please share it in the comments, as I'm sure Universal Studios or whatever park is interested will want to hear them before they start construction. Thank you so much for watching. I love amusement parks. I love Bioshock. I love you.